Just say you can fire, take everything.
Hey CFam, and welcome to episode 6 of Attempting Pinterest Goals. This episode is going to be fully dedicated to food photography, so food blogging. As you guys know, my Pinterest series is sponsored by Squarespace, so thank you so much Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Food blogging is kind of like where my online career did actually stem from. I started like food photography when it wasn't really a thing. So like people honestly thought I was so odd taking photos of my food. Like it was just, I don't know, it was just, now it's so normal, like now it's just a part of life. But to take photos of your food back then, it was just the strangest thing. My family thought I was so weird, and so did my friends, my boyfriend. Look, it wasn't like it was cool back then, so I just generally started because of my love for health, for food, and for like pretty things as well. So that's actually where I find my following did come from on my Instagram, really, because I did just start taking photos of my food and people wanted like my recipes, and I just had a way of making it look nice. So with photography, it is something that over the years I have like self-taught myself, and I've learned, really educated myself with it, not only because I take photos of myself and I know what looks good, but also I have like educated myself through documentaries, YouTube, certain blog posts. Like honestly, you can educate yourself with almost anything, like just YouTube it. So no, I do not have any qualification in photography at all, but when it comes to food blogging, I'm goddamn good at it. Look, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it's just something that I've always had an eye for. Like, look, it's probably the only thing that I'm actually kind of good at. Anyway, so today I want to share with you guys some little tools and tricks that you can take away with your everyday food blogging. And a lot of these tips you can actually take away to use for like Instagram photos, selfies, flat lays, etc. But today is dedicated to food blogging. I am thinking about doing like how to create like a perfect Instagram photo in another episode. So if you're wanting that, please let me know in the comments below. But this one is fully food blogging. So with my food blogging, I do use my Canon EOS 750D, but this camera would actually be nothing if it wasn't for my Sigma lens. But in today's video, you will not need to spend money on expensive equipment if you don't have it. You can just use your iPhone. You just gotta learn how to take a photo. Learning how to take a proper photo is simple. So number one, super simple, lighting. This comes down to any photo that I am taking, I prioritize lighting. So I always opt for a natural light, so I will take my food photos next to a window. It's also super important to understand timing of the day. For example, certain rooms of my house are a lot darker than others in the morning, but in the afternoon they're lighter, so I will know when to take my photos. Direct sunlight can be extremely harsh when it comes to food photos, so I don't actually use direct sunlight with my food photography. I prefer actually overcast days. They like give off kind of like a nice cool light for your photo. Again, I'll still use natural lighting. You can use like LED lights or ring lights. I don't usually when it comes to food photos because it kind of reflects and bounce off. Right now I am currently using an LED light because it is a really overcast day and it is quite dark. So when it is dark, I don't use natural lighting because there isn't any there. So I just use a ring light, but for food photography, I don't actually recommend it. I recommend setting up where you're going to take your photo with natural light. You don't want any direct sunlight coming in, but you do just want natural light. Flat lays. So, little hack, head to your local tile store, so somewhere that sells like tiles for like your bathrooms and like, you know, kitchen renos, and ask them if they have any like huge tiles that they're chucking out. This is something that I do all the time. This is where I kind of get like my marble flat lays, my wood pallet flat lays, and just all my flat lays basically. I even have picked up some really cool, like I'll actually show you. So this is my chopping board. It's not a chopping board, it's a tile. But I picked it up from a tile store because I just asked, is there any that you're chucking out? And majority of the time, they do have a lot and they're more than likely to give you some. If not, you know, maybe just buy a tile, but I'm lucky enough that I have had every single time that I go, they're chucking out stuff. Otherwise, sometimes I will use just a table, floor, whatever, and then I will use like some linen. So whether it's just like a cloth, like a cleaning cloth or like a blanket, I will just kind of like, do you understand? Like chuck it, like chuck it, like just kind of like chuck it down so it looks super natural, because if you're just folding it up and then you put your food on top, it doesn't look natural at all, kind of like looks real staged. You want it to look quite natural. So I'll get this linen cloth and I'll just go chuck it there, and then I'll put my meals and everything on top. So another thing with your flat lays is to keep it quite simple. You don't want it like overpowering and colorful, because you want the center of attention to be on the food, not so much the background. So keeping a nice simple background is like optimal. For me, I personally always just go for white. Black can be quite dulling and dark, and again, take the focus away from the food. You want it to feel quite vibrant. Me personally, I feel things from certain photos. If I see something that's quite dark and messy, I feel dark and messy. But like if I see something that's like bright and vibrant, I'm like, oh, that makes me feel good, double tap. So as you can see that I've done for this flat lay, so I was doing these for my C Active sups. And what I actually did is I sprinkled a bit of like the ingredients on the flat lay. So I used like dried flowers and stuff, but for my AM, I actually used like chia seed and like dehydrated lemon and stuff. So actually how dehydrated fruit is something that is so good when you are food blogging. So literally all I did was I cut up the fresh fruit and then I air fried it. You can do it in a dehydrator. I don't have a dehydrator, but like if you have an air fryer, air fry it. It honestly comes up so good. You have to kind of turn it on low, and it roughly only took like 15 minutes. That is really good. You can actually buy dried fruit. Dried fruit and dried flowers are so good to have on hand because they just look so pretty in like all your food photos. They look even good in like prop photos and everything. So yeah, I just kind of like sprinkled that all over the flat lay and then popped my meal in the middle. So another handy tip when you are taking photos is you want to be keeping the human eye guessing. Automatically, I know what I like. When I'm scrolling through my Instagram feed, I'm like, oh, like what makes you tap a photo and scroll past one? And me, it comes down to aesthetics. I'm not saying everyone's the same, but I know what I like, so I kind of just like create what I like, and then I know that there's similar people who like the same thing. So for me, I found that the human eye loves to, like, by saying keep it guessing, having little things at the edge of the photo. So not everything's in the center. So there'll always be things in the corner. I find that I do that a lot with my flat lays. Like I'll have flowers like just in the corner, or I'll have like another little like cup thing, spoons, like whatever. It really, I don't know, for some reason our human eye is just really drawn to that. So again, with understanding the human eye, like I said before, color is extremely important. Like I'll show you here for my AM, I did mix it with colorful colors because the AM is quite a colorful drink and it all like really meshed well. But for my PM, it resembled more nighttime, it resembled more darkness. So having a certain feeling when someone is looking at a photo is super important. So I did, like, even my editing that I did for my PM photo is completely different from my AM photo because it does give off that different feel. Editing. So editing, it's just kind of like the icing on the cake. Don't get me wrong, you can start with a really nice photo, but it's almost impossible these days to kind of like stand out from the crowd if your photo is not edited. Like, I'm not talking about like face tune the shit out of yourself, but I'm just talking about tweaking with some lighting, enhancing some colors, like, do you know what I mean? So with my food photography editing, it's kind of different from my like normal photo editing because I'm very creative with my food photography. But when it comes down to like my Instagram photos, I keep it quite the same because I do like my Instagram feed to look the same. So that is kind of like a tip when you are editing your Instagram photos, is to kind of like know your style and stick with that style with colors and like your Lightroom presets or whatever you use. Try to like stick it the same. Like some photos can be quite warm, some photos can be quite blue. Like you want to be making sure your Instagram feed does look the same, so keeping with the same preset. But I do find that I am very creative and I do like to switch it up with my actual food photos. So if you guys don't know already, I actually sell my own presets. I have like a food blogger package. I have a basic package, and then I have a more like pro package, so that's like just full of every preset that I use. I created these like almost a year ago. If you are interested, I will just leave the link in the description below. It's all the presets that I use, but there's so many other presets out there. All presets are amazing. You can actually, you know, make your own, but if you are completely like have no idea how to use Lightroom, I would suggest just buying some. So with these photos here, I did, what I did first is I had to get them out of my camera. If you are using a camera, this is how I import them, export them. This is how I export them. And then I put them on my laptop and then on my phone. And then I'll get them on my phone. It's a process. I'll get them on my phone and I'll import them into Lightroom, and then I'll use one of my presets. So the preset that I use really is depending on like the lighting that day really, because some presets that I give are more like blue or more bright. So this preset that I slapped on here was really good. It completely changed the style of my photo for the PM, and this is what it looked like for the AM. And then I also have done like a little recipe up for C Active's Instagram, and this is what it looked like once I imported it into Lightroom. So as you can see, that it does make an extreme difference. Even though the photo that I did originally start with was so nice, just to have that extra enhancement does so much. So what I did notice is these photos weren't the exact color that I wanted, and it was too bright, so I did actually play around with the brightness. So you can play around down the bottom. I played around with the brightness and the temperature. The temperature and the brightness are the two main things that I usually play around with. And then what you do is, like, down the bottom there's like a little like a button called previous, so it copies all the editing and the adjustments that you made on the previous photo, so I applied that to all my photos. Next is I actually imported them into Facetune. Facetune is honestly a really good editing app. It's kind of like similar to Photoshop. I know a lot of people are like, oh my god, she uses Facetune, oh my god, to make the video look bigger, which so many people do. I don't know, can they see that squiggle thing in the background? Do you know what I mean? Can they see that? I see that. Do you see that? But what I use it for is, again, like an enhancement. So with my food photos, I'll use detail. So as you can see, the little C Active sign you couldn't really see, so I detailed the C Active. Another really good thing that Facetune is good for is if there's like a something in the photo that you don't really want there, you can literally make it vanish. So it's with a tool called Patch, and then you move over and you press the vanish, and then you draw what you want to be gone. It is honestly amazing. It's so easy. I do this as well for like certain selfies. Just for example, like, I know it's gonna sound like, I know a lot of people are gonna get me anyway. So just say if there's a wall, right, and there's like a PowerPoint thing or like a color that I don't want there, I make it vanish. Bye-bye. Or like a stain on the wall, like a stain somewhere. It gotta go. It gotta go. So yeah, that is super handy. So that's all I did in Facetune. And then I imported them to VSCO. I always use the same filter with VSCO. It's M5. I don't really like the other edits. I love M5 though, but I adjust it and I like take it all the way down. So if it's like here, it's like super like, ugh. So I like bring it all the way back down, and it just, I don't know what it does to the photo, but it just makes it look so nice. Like I can tell if I haven't VSCO'd it. And then one last thing, I know this seems like a lot of steps, but it's really not, and you kind of get the hang of it. When I do import them into Instagram, I do actually turn the highlights down for my food photos for some reason. It just, I don't know. Look, this may just be me, but I'm just telling you what I do. You can turn the highlights down and then maybe like a little bit of structure. You can play with the lighting and stuff. I actually do like Instagram adjustments sometimes. I don't really use them too much, but I do always turn the highlights down. So this is the exact same edit that I use for literally everything: my YouTube thumbnails, my Instagram, my email campaigns. As you guys know, I do use Squarespace for both my websites, so for C Active and Christie Swadling. I did speak about this in my last video, but if you did miss it, I do highly recommend checking out Squarespace, especially if you are wanting to start like food blogging or like any like form of like photography and you're wanting to create a website. I highly recommend doing it on Squarespace. Honestly, my blogging went through the roof when I started to use Squarespace. Like, they offer so many like blogging tools and so many different templates that you can learn stuff from. It's just a way to be able to like learn more about certain styles, or even just find your own style. Like, you don't just, your style just doesn't come out of like air. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to educate yourself and make action and do things and have trial and error to kind of figure out your niche and your style when it does come to blogging, taking photos, photography, creating a website, or just being a little bit more creative. It just, like, sometimes it doesn't come, and that's okay. You just have to make the steps and test stuff out and trial and error, like I said. So Squarespace does offer like so many things that can help you learn about this type of stuff. But the number one thing that I do love about Squarespace, it's honestly just so easy. I'm someone who, when I'm learning something new, I get so overwhelmed, and if it's not simple, I just won't try. Hence why I'm like a pro at Squarespace now, because it was so simple to start with. Also, if you are wanting to like upload like certain blog posts or anything like that, and you're kind of stuck with the type of design, they already have themes there for you that you can just choose from, and then you just pop in your picture and your wording. And that is something that I love, because even myself, after like 6 years of doing this, sometimes I'm like, oh, I kind of want to change up my style a little bit. So that is something that I do love doing, is sussing out like their themes and their templates that are already created. And then I'm like, oh, I like this. If you do want to learn more about Squarespace, make sure you head to squarespace.com, and you can actually start your free trial. And then when you're ready for a subscription, make sure that you use my link, and that'll actually get you 10% off your first domain purchase. As per usual, all the links and everything will be in the description below. Anyway guys, I hope you did like this quick and short video in how to be a pro food blogger. But at the end of the day, don't get too stressed, have fun with it, and like, don't compare yourself to others, you know. find your niche, find what you're good at, and also remember that like things take practice. You're not going to be amazing at something right at the start, and don't compare yourself to food bloggers and Instagrammers who have been doing it for years. Like when I first started, oh my god, I don't even want to look at their photos. Like I'm not even going to put them on the screen because they were that bad. But what I'm saying is taking me 5 to 6 years to get to the point where I'm at. So don't compare yourself to everything you see on Instagram, because trust me, we all do it and it's not fun, it's not nice, so let's stop doing it. I hope you guys did like this episode. If you do like this Pinterest goals series, then make sure you do give this video a thumbs up so I can continue making them. And again, thank you so much Squarespace for sponsoring this series, because I know my C fam loves it so much. Anyway, C fam, I love you and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!